Several schools across the country have started implementing the Black Lives Matter at School Week of Action curriculum. Among the program's 13 principles is one known as Black Villages, which calls for the, quote, disruption of Western nuclear family dynamics and a return to the collective village that takes care of each other, end quote. Jack Brewer, former NFL player, CEO of the Jack Brewer Foundation. How you doing, sir? Good morning to you. It's been a while since we have spoken here. Well, what's the idea behind this program?
I know it's AntiChrist. I know that, and it's unfortunate to see what our schools are being filtrated with. I mean, the doctrine that they're teaching these children right now is so sad. And to think that you are going to talk about the destruction of the family, you're going to promote broken families, and you're going to go against all of those things that we as Americans hold so true, our values as Americans. You are now training kids to go against that. You need fathers in homes. And if we look across our society right now, this is exactly the reason why, particularly in the African American community, you see rates of fatherlessness so high. You see rates of crime so high. You start going into the education system and you see that 71% of the kids that drop out of high school are fatherless. All these issues have a root cause, but it comes from this liberal perspective. When you start to embrace this and you start to promote this across the country, you're going to have some major issues. And we can't just fix this with the stroke of the pen or the election of a president. These things are now deep rooted. When you think about BLM being able to be promoted from the National Football League and all these major corporations and brands embracing this, we have a real cultural issue right now. And the only way we solve it is through Christ Jesus.
Jack, one of the things to put up on the board here, call for number 2. This is some statistics that you were alluding to. This is children under 18 living in single-parent versus two-parent households in the U.S. by race as of 2020. White, non-Hispanic, two parents, 75.5%. In black families, it's 37.9%. And I wonder about you, when you bring this up, what kind of blowback or criticism do you receive? And I know that you can argue extremely well, and I find you persuasive. But are you persuasive to those audiences who don't want us to be talking about two-parent families?
No, they'll call me an Uncle Tom, or they'll say that I'm talking bad about black people. But when the reality hits you, at the end of the day, I don't really care what other people say or think. I know that the results that I see in schools right here in Broward County, where I have youth programs that I run every day, when I look at these children that don't have fathers in their homes, and I see these little girls sending pictures of themselves naked to each other, and I hear about kids starting to have sex at 10, 11 years old. These things are coming because there's no father in the house. When I see them using drugs at the rates that they're using drugs, and as you said before in your previous segment, they are pushing these kids, these fatherless kids, through the system. Yeah. These kids can't read and write properly. Most of their reading and math proficiency levels are 3 or 4 grades below where they should be. And this is all a result of not having a strong family home structure for these children to go to. And it's just not right. And as Americans like us who have the blessings that God has given us, we have to stand for the voiceless. We have to make this loud and understand that we will be persecuted. There are some single moms that will be offended, but it's not about you. It's about the fact that you were one of the few who are able to raise your children properly. Doesn't take away from all those victims that we have across our nation. Mm-hmm. I mean, 18 million fatherless kids in our nation. We should all be embarrassed by that.
Jack, when you talk about Broward County, how much do you think about places like Baltimore as well?
Baltimore is a place where I've fortunately been able to visit and help out. But after the pandemic, it's just getting worse. I mean, these kids, their graduation rates, if they were truly put these kids through a normal testing procedures, you'd see sometimes 0%. I think they had 38 schools where the kids didn't have, 0% of the kids in the schools had reading proficiency levels at their grade level. This is a real epidemic. We need to call this a crisis.
Can I ask you just one last thing about that? Because Tucker Carlson brought this up on his show the other day, talking about Baltimore and talking about the kids. He was then called a racist by leaders in that community. And he continued, he's not backing down. He's going to continue to say what he thinks and use the facts that are at his disposal to speak up for those kids. What do you think about him being called a racist for pointing that out?
It's sick. Everything has to go back to race. We can't be real anymore in this country. Truth is grace and love. That's what love is. And so Tucker Carlson's bringing the truth. And we need that in this country. These cities are ran by black people. They look just like me. Most of these school districts are ran by black people that look just like me. It's time for us to call our own brothers and sisters up and encourage them, but more importantly, hold them to some accountability. I will do that as a black man. I have no problem with anybody pushing back to me, because when it comes down to these innocent kids that are born into these situations, we have to stand up for that. So I applaud Tucker for that. I applaud everyone. Speak loud and proud. This is our nation. It's not about the color of your skin anymore. We need to get the black, the white, the Hispanic. We need to get all of that stuff off of our box checkers, and we need to start becoming Americans. All of us together. One blood, one America.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you. Thank you
Jack
for
Brewer.
everything. Take care today.
God bless you.
You bet.